Mike McCaul of Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here today. As President Kennedy once said, let us never fear to negotiate, but let us not negotiate out of fear. As an American, I want to wish you my heartfelt, sincere wish that your negotiations are successful. I think every American wants that. I think that the stakes you're dealing with, or the national security stakes, have never been higher than they are with Iran, and from a national security, homeland security standpoint as well. I have some concerns about this deal. We've worked on these sanctions for a decade. We've gotten to the point where we can possibly negotiate. I sent a letter to Senator Reid, signed by 70 members of Congress, to continue and vote on the sanctions bill that we passed by 400 votes in the House so that we could strengthen your hand, strengthen your leverage in these negotiations. My concern is that this deal violates 6 UN Security Council resolutions to give Iran the right to enrich, that it sends a message to our partners in the Middle East that it's okay for a state sponsor of terrorism to enrich, but not for them. I'm concerned that it could spark a nuclear arms race in the Middle East if not done correctly. I'm concerned it deals nothing with the technology aspects. As we know, they have the capability to hit Israel and Europe with its missiles currently, and the Pentagon projects that they have ICBM capability of hitting the United States by 2015. And I think most disturbingly, Mr. Secretary, that President Rouhani just said this week that Iran's centrifuges, in his words, quote unquote, will never stop spinning. Now, I've talked to officials in the Bush administration who claim that one of the biggest mistakes made was North Korea. I think Iran is playing the North Korean playbook, if you will, and also trying to play the United States. As Homeland Security Chairman, I'm concerned about $7 billion of relief without any assurance that that money will not be used for further terrorism and will not be used to further a nuclear weapons program. I think that we should negotiate, but I believe that lifting sanctions should not be done until they have dismantled their nuclear program. In other words, Mr. Secretary, are you willing at the end of the 6 months, in the final deal, to say, look, we're willing to lift the sanctions when you stop enriching uranium?
Well, let me speak for a minute to the question of the never stop spinning the centrifuges. If they're, less than 1,000 or 500 or whatever they are, they may never stop spinning them, but they're very limited in what they're going to be able to do. The outlines of this have to take shape now. And we're very clear. This agreement, as I read earlier to you, envisions, and they've accepted this, envisions severe restraints. Mutually defined program with mutually agreed parameters consistent with practical needs. What are the practical needs? To have some medical research, maybe? To feed enough fuel into a legitimate power program, which may be done in consortium with other people with intrusive knowledge of what's going on as a result. I mean, there are a lot of things here yet to be filled out in this. So the answer is, at the end of this, I can't tell you they might not have some enrichment, but I can tell you to a certainty it will not be possible for them to be able to turn it into a weapons program without our knowing it so far in advance that all the options that are available to us today to stop it. Let's say we weren't here talking about this, and they're proceeding down the road, and we came to you and said, hey, we got to stop it the only way we know how. That's still going to be available to us. Only it's going to be available to us with much greater foresight, much greater knowledge of what's happening, and much more restraint on whatever their program is between now and then. That does make Israel and Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and Egypt and all the other countries concerned much more secure.
I think you'd have more confidence from Israel, I think, and members of Congress, if you came back in 6 months and said, they can have a peaceful program, but not enriching uranium inside Iran. And that can be done by providing that enriched uranium to them outside of Iran I would urge you to pursue that.
That deal was on the table a number of years ago, but that deal, I'm afraid, has probably been lost.
Well, I believe
We
our
go
leverage
to
is strong.
gentleman's time has expired. We go to Jerry Connolly of Virginia.